Greetings, fellow Gothamites. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And we're back to cover episode 2 of season 4 of Fox's retelling of the Dark Knight mythology entitled The Fear Reaper. So join us as we venture into Batman's birthplace.
And explore Gotham.
Oh boy, that's right, Dragon. We're right in the thick of things. A lot of Bruce Wayne stuff going on. A lot of course, the Scarecrow. I've heard mixed opinions about the Scarecrow, Dragon. I think I fall somewhere in the middle of those opinions. I'm curious to get your take on that, but big episode going forward. Let's dive right into this, folks. Of course, we're going to do it scene by scene, so hopefully that'll kind of cut down on some of the runtime of this. So what's our cold open, Dragon? Where do we start?
Well, just broadly, our cold open, the GCPD arrive at Crane Farm, where we ended the last episode with, the big reveal that Jonathan Crane has, he's kind of melded with his fear. He's become his fear, kind of like Bruce kind of taking on the bat in the comics. The Scarecrow has kind of...
Crane isn't here anymore.
Now it's just, again, I love the emphasis on the Scarecrow. So basically, the GCPD, Gordon Bullock, they arrive at Crane Farm, and they find Grady, who is the man who kind of brought on that cool intro. The Mr. Exposition guy from the first episode. Grady is basically been turned into a scarecrow on the lawn, which I think is an appropriate fate for all those. Those guys are really mean to Jonathan Crane. They deserve that. So he's been sprayed, and he basically announces, he's coming. And this is a great build-up for the Scarecrow, by the way. He's coming! Oh, Scarecrow! It's a great opening. It's very well shot because I love when we happen upon him, like all this kind of great swirling kind of dust and debris around the guy, like fog. It looks really cool, and I love the little plot detail. I love it's like a little visual clue that it's gonna play in big time later on. You can see kind of the dried compound on his face, the yellow smudges on his face from the fear gas.
Right.
Which is going to be a big plot point later on. So really good to cold open.
Okay, so we're back with Bruce at the GCPD. Of course, Alfred is on the case. He's getting the world's most talented and expensive lawyer that money can buy to bail Bruce out.
Just remember, Bruce fell through. You catch the folks. So what happened to Bruce?
Yeah, well, he fell through a roof as a robbery was in progress. As the criminals were leaving, the cops kind of entered and caught Bruce at the scene of the crime. So
yes. So it's not importantly the skylight fall worries Alfred. It worries Alfred that Bruce is Bruce is running before he can crawl, essentially into vigilantism, which is of course kind of the age-old kind of Alfred worrying about every night could be Batman's last in a way. Mm-hmm. Then we have this really great bit. Jim Gordon. I love the Jim Gordon Bruce scenes in this episode. They've been on fire with that so far this season. Jim letting Bruce out, just having to worry about bail or anything. It shows you what a good guy Gordon is. Yeah. But importantly, Gordon's asking the smart questions here. He has a great line too. He has this great line: "Bruce Wayne behind bars." I never thought I'd see the day of Bruce Wayne be behind bars, and I love this. And again, this is selling me so much on the stuff. I've always loved kind of the ambiguity of does Gordon know Bruce is Batman, and in this case they have a great because I was thinking, okay, there's. I'm not saying like I'm taking off my track of just saying I still think down the line Gordon's going to know that Bruce is Batman absolutely in this interpretation of this. Okay. But regardless, I do like that we're kind of given some feasible, at least by Gotham standards, it's a feasible excuse that Bruce was looking for Selina and he accidentally fell through a skylight. Because again, they know that Bruce and Selina have these rooftop conversations constantly. It's a good excuse.
What they might go with Gordon is kind of like the plausible deniability, where Gordon he knows, but he doesn't necessarily want to know.
Yeah, it's always been that's the bread and butter of the that's the animated series. I'm not saying they were like the first one. They've always been kind of the go-to, or at least the example for me of doing that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so as Bruce is being let out, we see the victim of Crane kind of freaking out in his cell, which is, of course, going to be some foreshadowing as we transition to Arkham, where the warden is just very frantically trying to burn evidence.
Very corrupt.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is where I fell in love with this interpretation of Scarecrow, I got to tell you. I'm head over heels for this Scarecrow.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm liking it a lot too, and I'm really it's weird to me that this Scarecrow, at least from the circles that I've watched to cover this show, people aren't really feeling this.
Oh yeah, I love this. I love the critique that the Scarecrow is giving. I think the Scarecrow is really well written. If anything, he's so well written. Basically, he has this great critique uh, of this corrupt early Gotham, which again I think is a great kind of like stance on where we're coming on the show. In the pre-Batman Gotham of it all here, where he points out that Arkham. Especially with this corrupt warden, but generally Arkham doesn't really treat its patients. I mean, Hugo Strange is the closest thing these guys had to actual treatment, and their mind he still was making monsters, right. But that was the closest thing you had to at least.
Like, think about it: just isolation, no therapy, no treatments.
Basically ice baths and electro shocks.
It's like that is a hellish existence.
It's ice baths and electroshock therapy. That's all that Arkham does, and pretty much they house the crazy people. It's like an old style kind of insane asylum.
I love the warden's just like, you can leave, Jonathan. I don't want to leave, warden.
And this is what I'm loving about this take on the Scarecrow. This is what has me over the moon with it, is the fact that the Scarecrow critique, after all these years of the Scarecrow, I mean, all these interpretations of the Scarecrow, they have universally one flaw. And it's not a thing that kills the character by any stretch. It's just something that always kind of makes you wonder. It's this fact that the Scarecrow always talks about his experiments. Always his justification to Batman. Bear in mind, he's a crazy man, so there's always kind of like a grain of salt to take this with. But his justification to himself is, hey, I'm doing these fear experiments to help people. I'm going to, you never. The thing is, Scarecrow does all this.
They sort of carried that down to a legacy with the Jonathan Crane Sr. storyline.
Yes, I mean, there's a great foundation for, but importantly, what Jonathan Crane now here is doing. Of course, it's well founded because of the Gerald Crane stuff, but. We never knew what these experiments were for. Scarecrow always claims, I'm doing it for fear experiments, but he's just
right.
For the heck of it, like. Yeah, because
the down to earth realistic interpretation with Cillian Murphy was more like just, I'm gonna scare my patients. Ooh.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you gotta wonder. The thing with Scarecrow is like one of those characters where you really have to reinvent them, and make him interesting, because you kind of run into a rut with the Scarecrow where it's okay. What more can you learn from terrifying people? Because the animated series had like one other really interesting episode of the Scarecrow where they. I'm saying where they varied the whole the fear. They changed it up, where basically he took away fear and he was kind of using it to blackmail people.
Okay.
But the point is, like, you can only do so much with fear, and I love here we're actually kind of we're showing that he's using his own case, the treatment that his father used, exposing him to fear, and in this case, Jonathan learned from his trauma of being locked in the closet, basically becoming the Scarecrow. He transcended his fear. He evolved himself into, he cured himself by becoming his fear, which is a very Scott Snyder-esque idea to me. It's kind of the make or break quality of Gotham, where the city either breaks you or you become one with the city. In this case, he became one with his fear.
Yeah, and like I said at the end of the episode last time, I think it was a very good sort of reimagining of the Scarecrow backstory. Yeah. And as you said, it's a very hard character to just interpret directly onto from page to screen. So yeah, good reimagining there.
So I mean, I love that we're keeping the ball rolling with that. That's what I'm getting at here. I mean, we're still developing it. It's making more and more sense of like, okay, we're doing some new stuff with the Scarecrow. Because again, we don't really do a lot of this stuff with that character. So I'm really down for it. Anyway, we have this cool bit. Last thing they really hit with this with the Scarecrow is that I love when he sprays people. He have like kind of the wet spray detail.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of like it's like you spray him with bug spray or something. You have like all the kind of the wetness there, which of course is a big plus.
Specifically getting pissed that the warden isn't calling him by Scarecrow.
Yeah, it's calling him Jonathan Crane. He's not focused because he's looking for the gun. He's looking for the phone and everything. And of course, Scarecrow with the scythe, a very long Halloween image with the Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they're hitting all the right spots with the Scarecrow, and importantly, sprays the warden. So next scene.
Okay, next scene. So basically, we're at Wayne Enterprises, right?
Well, no, they're walking out of the GCP, and they bump into Lucius.
Yeah, that's right. I forget that Lucius is part of the GCPD now. Okay.
Which makes sense, because Lucius works there. Of course, they bump into Lucius.
You're right. Yeah, it does make sense. Okay, so yeah, Lucius is kind of confronting Bruce on his injuries, and this is where we get kind of the scene that we saw in the promo where Alfred and Bruce are both being really dodgy about it, like, I took up rock climbing. Yes, I'm taking Master Bruce rock climbing. We're going out with Tony and Clay from 13 Reasons Why.
God. Yeah, but it's funny. You always kind of give Lucius Fox the bum excuses. In this case, rock climbing. It's just I love the chemistry between Pertwee and Mizzou's here. Just like they're going. They came up with this on the fly, but they're so committed to it. They're such a great unit.
And I like how Lucius can see right through it, and he's giving some kind of some veiled advice. He's like, "Just be careful on those rocks, Bruce. It's a dangerous sport."
Yeah. And Chris Chalk is an excellent Lucius Fox. He really is. Okay, let's see. So, continuing on with the Scarecrow scene, so he has sprayed the Warden. The Warden's kind of processing the fear, which is a really cool scene. But before we can jump right into that, I just want to say again, I love the backstory of Crane idolizing his father. So I love how he still loves his father after all the fear experiments his father put him through. Because again, he overdosed him with. He's the reason he is the way he is. The reason his father drove him mad. But again, in a demented way, to protect him, to help his son, and the son took the love that his father gave unto him and viewed his father's death as a sacrifice.
Yeah.
So I mean that is such a great backstory for this Scarecrow, and again, it's continuing his father's legacy with this new persona.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, so then the Warden is kind of facing his fear, and what is his fear, Tiki?
His fear is clowns.
So, of course, we have some fun. I don't know how timely this was, but...
I mean, it is Warner Brothers, so it's the same studio.
True. So, of course, there's a lot of clown fears being brought to the surface these days with certain cinematic exploits. But importantly, what I really loved about this, I love that we're kind of in a natural way, because, again, people do fear clowns, especially now. People fear clowns, and the fact that we're kind of indoctrinating Gotham with fear of clowns at this point. Yes. And we had a really great show. We have this really creepy, somewhat CG looking. Again, it's kind of Capullo Spawn clown-esque. But what I'm getting with the Capullo thing is I love that in certain shots when they get up close to the face of this clown, kind of Joker-esque.
I can see that.
I'm saying again, I love that we're foreshadowing it.
But this leads to a really twisted moment where the Warden is just so freaked out by the clown that he runs out, and then he runs into the hallway where he starts basically gunning down all the Arkham inmates who he sees as clowns.
Now, this Tiki feels so much like the Arkham games, where basically you are doused by, you're hallucinating something, then it's revealed, okay, you were fighting something else.
Okay.
So it's a really, really cool pool that we're doing there. But yeah, it's a some creepy inventive uses of the fear toxin here where, he's gunning down clowns that are in reality staff of Arkham.
All right, so next scene we have, has Penguin just bought out the press at Gotham now?
Well, before that, the Scarecrow, then he recruits the inmates.
Right.
It's a good transition, by the way. So basically, he recruits the inmates to get revenge on the GCPD, which, of course, we transition to the GCPD.
Yes, and Penguin is just running around the GCPD with his paparazzi crones, basically, confronting all of them about Crane. And let's see...
basically trying to save face after the Iceberg Lounge was attacked by the fear toxin. He's placing it all on Crane. He wants to save face after being humiliated.
Right, and he's basically calling the GCP out on being corrupt and outdated. And Gordon, of course, Gordon's not going to take this. He's calling him out on his hypocrisy. Basically like, oh well, you're saying that because you're saying that, says the man who legally lets people, go around and commit crimes. And of course, this leads to a whole debate about the licenses and whatnot.
It's kind of like, if Penguin was more genuine with what he's doing here, it'd be, is to take out the money, kind of the money infrastructure of it all. Penguin's essentially promoting, hey, let's control corruption, which again is kind of that Red Hood idea. Like, let's control corruption, which again would help Gotham. That's what the cops are gravitating towards. But of course, Jim's trying to hang on to what kind of Penguin's calling his naive optimism, and of course, the money of it all is where
his Boy Scout morality.
Yes, his Boy Scout morality with that optimism. So and again, Penguin's I like that we're having some valid points. By the way, I love the staging of this. We're using kind of that proscenium kind of staging of the GCP.
Yes. Use that same location for so many good shots over the years.
and it's so great. I mean, I know it's a little over the top, but I love it. I kind of like that it's over the top because the Penguins you walk like they're both in this proscenium stage, like a scene out like it's like staging out Romeo and Juliet or something. Like they're kind of talking to the town or like publicly insulting each other. You know, one it's a great mirror of that scene from the last episode where Gordon was kind of publicly insulting Penguin, and now Penguin's doing the same, but to Gordon about making clear that GCP is ineffectual. But what I love that Penguin's confronting Jim with here is the fact that basically this antiquated morality has been failing for 3 seasons. Saying, of course, I mean, look, without going into it, he says, "Hey, you and I have done some stuff. Remember the whole thing with Theo Gallivan? Again, you've seen the failings within your own system yourself." And again, I like that Jim can't quite look him in the eye after that because he realizes, he's kind of right. But again, Jim's holding on to that optimism. It doesn't have to be that way. So then we have a really again, it's kind of ham-fisted, but at the same time,
it's a very underhanded, like non-deal.
Yeah, so this scene, it's definitely bizarre. So basically, he publicly challenges Jim to within 24 hours, catch Jonathan Crane within 24 hours, or you publicly essentially denounce the GCPD.
And then he basically forces Gordon to shake his hand. And Dragon, I don't know about you, but I'm a man who likes to honor a handshake, right? Like, I'm not a Ray Kroc, like. I'm a man who honors the sacredity of a handshake, and you don't just go and force a handshake out of someone. That, I don't know.
Exactly. That's what's so bizarre to me about it, because I love that, because when I was watching, it was like, I love that bit where Gordon's looking at the hand, I'm in Gordon's head, I'm thinking, Jim, come on, you would never shake his hand. I don't care. Whatever thing they're going to have is not going to justify Gordon it's not going to be like an ego thing, you're going to shake his hand, but then I was just like kind of just dumbfounded, like, what? Penguin just forces a handshake. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So it's like this bizarre handshake bit of just like, what just every stooge in this paparazzi crowd is just going to realize, well, it really just forced the handshake, but it makes for a compelling picture. So we're going with it. And I love that we call that out later on. We don't just roll with this because it'll just be completely silly. So it's a head scratcher to say the least. Okay,
so next scene we're back with Selena and Tabitha. They're about to enter a building.
Cool looking building, by the way.
Yeah, they got an invite for an opportunity.
Opportunity awaits.
And they inside they find a newly reformed Barbara.
Yes, she's back and she's different.
Yes, Dragon, I have some theories about her.
I have a big theory. Might have the same one. Let's say for the end.
We might have this. I would actually be kind of surprised if we didn't have the same theory, but
that's what I'm saying. I think it's pretty obvious. Anyway, so Barbara, so she's back and she's different.
Yep. So how do you feel about the new Barbara Dragon? Because of course this character has kind of like been our most infamous character to track through the 3 seasons of Gotham so far.
It's kind of funny. It's almost like the third or fourth iteration of Barbara in the grand scheme when you think about it. Because we had the girlfriend Babs, then we have crazy Babs, then we have
Mobster Babs.
Yeah, Mobster Babs, and now we're having kind of back from the dead Babs. That's about 4 Babs.
Yep. God.
So far, I'm liking her because if they're doing what I think they're doing with her, I think it's really interesting. So I'm giving it a chance because I like that her apology was very genuine to Tabitha. Tabitha could tell that she wasn't lying. Because again, she's letting you kill me if you don't believe me. Again, that's a big gamble. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like this eerie quality we have with Barbara here coming back from the dead. Again, I really hope it's going where I think it's going. We offer she's boiled down here. She's offering a partnership in the gun enterprise, which in these days of Gotham, you're licensing crime. Once they're officially licensed, they're going to need weapons. Of course, they're going to need a go-to place. And it seems Penguin's not exactly in the arms dealing game quite yet, which is interesting. Part of me thinks Penguin might absorb this, so he would get his arms dealing business off the ground down the line. Possibly. Anyway, importantly, she said, and this is a very important thing here, she says she's only going to go forward with this if the 2 of them are down for it. Mm-hmm. Only if both of them are down for it. Tabitha is reluctant, and it's up to Selena. I thought it was clever. Again, if they're going where they're going with it. It's up to Selena to convince Tabitha to go in the business here because that's what she wants.
And of course, don't forget we reveal all the guns that are kind of like hidden in the secret panels in the walls.
Because in the trailers, we kept seeing her surrounded by guns, and we finally have the explanation for it. Okay, she's selling guns. Okay. So, going from guns to the guy who's very anti-gun.
Oh boy. So yes. So this is what I like to call the reverse psychology scene from Alfred, where basically Alfred walks in and he's like, "I'm not going to fight you, Master Bruce. Whatever happens, happens, and I'm just going to make myself a bloody sandwich."
Yep. Alfred's refusing to go because Bruce isn't ready. And I love that phrasing so much because that's one of the great lines from Batman Year One, kind of reference there.
Right.
Of course, one of the great inner monologues that Bruce Wayne had in that story, which again in the animated movie Ben McKenzie voiced as Bruce Wayne, which is
yes.
That was kind of the eternal joke of this series. Bruce has this great line after he kicks the tree, and we hear him say, "I'm not ready." Basically saying he knows throughout the book he says he's not ready, but he's still doing it anyway because he's compelled to. But that great line, "I'm not ready." After it seems he seems relatively ready. He's kicking a tree in half.
Right.
Great bits. I like that we're kind of pulling a little bit like subtly from Year One.
For sure. That's a continuing trend. Definitely.
Yeah, so Alfred refuses to go because Bruce isn't ready, and he's basically he's running before he can walk, and men with guns. That's really discouraging for Alfred. So Bruce makes the argument he feels alive when he's doing this because he's compelled to. Again, the Year One of it all.
Sure.
And now here's a line. I mentioned this already in the whole Comic-Con thing. So I've had a chance to meet Sean Pertwee and David Mazouz. And I actually learned a couple things from them. They kind of teased subtly a few things about this season. I had a really in-depth conversation with Sean Pertwee. We were kind of reflecting like moments we loved in the third season, but he did tease something at the panel, and then I kind of reaffirmed it with him. I was chatting with him. Bruce has this line where he says, "Do you know what that's like?" Now, what Sean Pertwee's kind of teased is that Alfred is going to be having Alfred's arc this season will be falling back into kind of the thing we alluded to in season 1, where Alfred was dealing with his military days with Reggie. Basically, Alfred did a lot of dark stuff in his past, and the idea that Sean Pertwee kind of alluded to is that doing this vigilante stuff with Bruce is going to maybe bring Alfred to a dark place where that's why he's going to kind of be scared off doing this, and that's why he definitely really doesn't want to get too involved in this, because he might be going too far where Bruce is not going to go that far, and he might worry about corrupting Bruce in that. So I think we're foreshadowing some direction with that there. So that was my read on that line.
Okay, cool.
Okay, it's just Alfred not stopping him. He's just going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it get shot.
Memento.
Yeah.
All right. So next scene we have. This is one of my favorite scenes of the episode, Dragon. Bullock informs Gordon that there's an Arkham. There's a riot going on at Arkham, and Gordon's trying to rally the troops, but nobody is even remotely down to go with him. And this is a great callback to, I believe it was a season 3 conversation between Bullock and Gordon, where Bullock says, there's going to come a time where one day you need me to be there for you, and I'd say no, and this is it. Because essentially what Bullock's argument is if Bullock goes with Gordon, he's essentially crossing the line, and he's essentially going to lose the support of the entire GCPD, and then who's going to be chief at that point? Who's going to be captain? Probably someone Penguin chooses. So I don't know, Dragon. I really like that history between Gordon and Bullock in this scene.
I'm with you there. I do love the callback of the now or never line coming back.
Right.
I'm going to say, I told you once, Jim, I was going to be now or never. In this case, I'm saying never. Again, because he doesn't. He's basically, we're especially going to hit on later on with this. Again, we set up here. We're going to pay off later. That Bullock is playing the long game. He's playing the war versus the battle here. That's where he's. Gordon's flaw, and this is a good flaw for Gordon to have, by the way. It's a very classic kind of Commissioner Gordon here. Where, Jim Gordon's flaw is that he's a little. While he does bend for Batman, he is kind of in the Frank Reagan category where, Jim Gordon, he will always do the right thing. At least by the point he is commissioner. He will always do the right thing, and, he will, in doing so, he opens himself up to kind of a blind spot there where, every mountain is like, every illegal thing, every like kind of vaguely corrupt thing is sort of a he'll die on that mountain. It's an old saying, like, is this a mountain you want to die on? Gordon's problem is that every mountain he will die on every mountain instead of like Bullock doing the strategic mountains to die on.
Right.
He doesn't pick his battles. Gordon fights every battle instead of picking the smart battles. And again, I like that we're kind of doing some of that stuff here with Jim. I hope we're going somewhere with it, because right now we're just seeing that he and Bullock are butting heads over. But I think by the end there's some evidence that Gordon's learning from that. And basically, they're making the point here to the GCPD. The GCPD really isn't helping because they're trying to see this 24-hour thing play out, see how we're going to go forward. Like, is Jim going to learn his place or not? And of course, Bullock's with the cops. Gordon's really not thrilled about that. And again, the last thing just is that Jim's making that point that the Penguin, while the cops are buying into like the whole it protects us. Just pointing out again, the Penguin's doing this for money and power, not for Gotham, which is interesting.
Right. Okay, so next scene we get to Gordon with sneaking around in Arkham, and he is confronted by a very Joker-esque clown. And
again, I love that we're pulling some great kind of like tonal foreshadow here. It's like, oh god, like Gordon's gonna be facing this sort of stuff every day. And the clown, Warden Reed as a clown, again, becoming a sphere. Really cool idea. The make or break of the city. Your fear's consuming you.
Scarecrow recognizes Gordon over the security cameras and comes over the intercom.
He's excited.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Let's see.
He unleashes the fear-crazed inmates, and Gordon's holding his own impressively.
Yes,
that's really impressive. Gordon doesn't really, to my recollection, he doesn't kill anyone. I love that he uses some shots to basically, like hit around them and scare them off. So I like he's scaring them off.
Right.
These rounds. They are they are fear-infected. It's not exactly, and he knows they're fear-infected. So basically, Jim's pressing forward again. It's a very Arkham Asylum-esque premise of one guy in the asylum pushing forward to the guy on the other end of the monitors. Usually, it was Batman and Joker. In the game, in this case, of course, we should also address. Of course, Arkham Knight Scarecrow was the big bad in that one, so it's kind of fun.
Okay, next scene. Penguin is entering Babs's lair with
his entourage.
Yes, with his entourage, including hot damn, it's like Christmas.
The great Victor Zsasz as well as Ivy.
Just Dragon. I cannot tell you. Like, if they keep up this trend of having Zsasz in every episode, just spouting one-liners, I'm going to be so happy with it.
We're doing more with Zsasz. I think Zsasz is going to be a fixture this season. We're going to see. We know Falcone will come into play, and it's going to be interesting knowing that Zsasz. Traditionally Zsasz works for Falcone, and when Falcone isn't around, he works for Penguin. So it'll be interesting seeing who Zsasz is going to side with when that comes back into the fray. Anyway, yes, after the great Christmas line, essentially Penguin's reaffirming that he's impressed that Barbara is back amongst the land of the living, and basically he's going to keep a close eye on her because she's the reason his power was taken from him last season.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically reaffirming that he's taxing and overseeing her business with a fine-tooth comb. We see a rift. At least it's a little better here, where we're seeing a rift form between Ivy and the Penguin, because the last episode was really random. They weren't going where I was thinking they were going to go with it.
Yeah.
So it's just the idea that Ivy's just she's starting to she's turning on Penguin for, in the first episode, dumb reason. In this case, the idea of Penguin's he's getting high on his own power here, and he's just treating her not as a friend anymore. Which you understand in this case why Ivy. You understand why she's turning on him. It's kind of a shame because I love them being all buddy.
I kind of wish we would have seen that relationship fall apart more instead of basically happening off screen.
I'm with you. Absolutely. So he's watching Babs closely. Penguin asks again, kind of breadcrumbs for a big theory. I think we both have the same theory. Is that Penguin's asking the question, "Who paid for your new fancy place?"
Yep.
Anyway, so some big questions are being thrown out there, but still no answers. Breadcrumbs. Meanwhile, Crane is delighting in the fact that Jim is at his mercy alone in the asylum.
He's just loving the irony of it all. He's just like, "Oh, this is rich."
It's like fate. He's thinking it's fate that the man who killed his father is the one is coming to the asylum alone, and he's targeting the GCPD mainly because of this guy. And again, the irony of it too, that Jim was the cop who took pity on Jonathan. Jim tried to save Jonathan. He was there at the hospital, and Jonathan, he didn't have to be at that hospital.
Sure.
So Jim tried, and with that said, so this was great too. I love that Jim, basically the two of them have a little face-off going on here. Basically, enters the room, and Scarecrow with that scythe, he kind of has Jim at his mercy, and Jim's trying to get through to Jonathan, talking about his father, and Jim kind of voices up that, hey, your father, he tortured you with all this. All the fear toxin, and of course Jonathan steadfastly defending his father. I embraced my fears. He taught me to embrace my fears. You killed a good man. And then he gasses Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this had me really intrigued on the promotional material for this season. He's like, oh god, what's Gordon under the fear gas gonna look like?
Yeah, well, we'll see that. So okay, so of course we hear. I like the audio of this. I like how Crane's voice is ringing in Gordon's head. It's really good sound design.
Yeah. So we cut back from commercial, and Jim is following a scream that he hears in his fear days. The fear days is cool, and this is again, it's something very Arkham game-esque where Batman would be under the influence of basically Crane would pump it through the ventilation system, and then like on a dime, you'd be suddenly in a fear toxin state adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Basically going down the hallway, and something's a little off. It's kind of creepy. So Gordon's in this fear days. He's walking down a hallway, and he finds Lee in a bloody bathtub.
Oh boy!
Now, believe me, again, Lee was.
There's nothing inherently wrong with this scene. It's just I'm not really ready to see Lee again.
Well, yeah, I think based on the fact that it's a fear hallucination, I'm perfectly fine with the inclusion of Lee.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it. And again, it's more consistently written than she was last season. Last season, she was stupidly written.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Again, everything with Lee except for the very ending of the season was bad. Except for the very end,
really bad.
Essentially, she was just reading a letter at the very end of the season. It was she read it in a really good way. That was about it.
So I guess this is the second 13 Reasons Why illusion we get in the episode besides the rock climbing.
Essentially, because basically, Lee is in the bloody bathtub with these slit wrist marks. So basically, Jim's fear to me, and basically what kind of is echoed by Lee in the tub, like her last words, kind of spoken to him in the fear, is that Jim's making things worse. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Basically, he's like a toxic person to everyone around him, and that everyone is worse off for knowing him.
Yes, and broadly, the broad fear that I think is going to be kind of Jim's thing. The Penguin is also voiced. I like how we're kind of connecting things here. Basically, what this fear kind of communicates is that Jim's never going to be able to fix Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, grand scheme in the whole series. Gordon since episode 1 has been trying to help Gotham, and basically she's saying, you ruin everything, you get in your own way all the time. You're never going to be able to fix Gotham because all the people's lives that you ruin the process, like myself. And I like the visual imagery with the blood. I like that it's kind of course the Alice blood being referenced with that. So that's kind of
sure.
That's a cool way of referencing the blood. Still, oh my God, you're so stupid to inject yourself with the blood. Why did we do that, writers? Why?
God.
And let's see. So, also, I'm reading into this. The whole opening of the vein here. The opening of the vein to me is a sign of just kind of commitment and loyalty, which is. I'm just saying, that line we had way back in episode 1 with the Penguin and Fish Mooney, where he says, "I'd open a vein for you just to prove my loyalty," and she says, "Well, go on, do that. Open a vein for me." So I like that's kind of
right.
It's showing your commitment. That's kind of why Gordon is kind of he's almost slits his own wrist there to kind of show his commitment to Lee, because she's asking him to do that. And I love this. Again, not the Lee from last season, but the Lee from the very end of last season. Jim accepts that she actually loved him, and again, despite all that craziness, it was deep down out of a sense of love.
Yeah, so he essentially kind of has the mental willpower to force himself to see the fear toxin hallucinations for what they are.
And there is something nice that despite all the dumb stuff she did last season, she did. Love him despite all the pain. And the important thing that breaks through to him is that despite all the pain that he caused her, she still loved him, and that's what snaps him out of it. It's a really tense scene, though.
Okay.
Really...
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next scene. Crane is pissed that Gordon overcame the toxin.
He is, but Tiki, I gotta understand because you're gonna love it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Gordon has this line, and I think it's another thing that kind of directly shakes him out of it, but it's a line that you and I loved from last season. Gordon says, he keeps repeating to himself, "She loves me. She loves me."
Oh, you know what? I caught that. Yeah.
So, right. I mean, a part of me, Tiki, I would like to think.
She loves me.
So not for the running gag and all, but seriously, though, I'd like to think that him saying that reminds him of Mario Falcone. Oh, my God, I'm becoming Mario Falcone. I'm tapping into that. I don't want to become Mario Falcone.
It's so silly.
Which, given the Falcone stuff we're probably going to do, I don't know. I don't think I'm too off with that. But yeah, anyway, back to the Crane rule. So Crane can't accept that Jim conquers fear. He is pissed off.
Oh.
And this is kind of cool. The altercation that Crane and Jim have is may foreshadow Jim and Bruce's stances and their potential conversation about what Bruce is doing, basically becoming Crane is spinning it that you're becoming your own demon. I became my demon, which of course Bruce is going to do with Batman. So I think there might be like a little foreshadow of what Jim and Bruce's conversation or conflict might be down.
That's a good season. And of course, Gordon's trying to convince him that he's just a kid that needs help, and Scarecrow is basically being like, "I'm never going to go back to being that child. I am something far beyond that now."
And again, the fact that Gordon can't help this kid, again, being something maybe akin to what he and Bruce down the line, again, like might not be able. Bruce would obviously not listen to Gordon in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, so Crane flees. Meanwhile, speaking of Bruce.
Yes. So Bruce is on a rooftop, basically spying criminals breaking into a building.
The same ones from the previous night.
Yeah. And he sneaks in himself, but then immediately gets caught. So not the best when it comes to stealth yet.
This is a cool scene. This feels very much like kind of that Jeff Johns Earth One, like the failed Batman years. The early, basically the Batman who makes a lot of mistakes. In this case, even earlier than that, the ski mask vigilante Bruce, where Bruce is.
So I like this idea that no one really recognizes his face, but there's one guy who insists that he seems familiar.
Yeah, again, kind of a good intention in that scene.
Right.
I don't know if I'm reading into this, but it's cool. I like that they're all dressed like Joe Chill.
Yeah.
Of course, in this series, Joe Chill.
That's a little intentional. I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, in this show, wasn't Joe Chill who did the Waynes, and it was the whole Matches Malone of it all, which is well done. It was different though. But the fact is, they're all dressed like Joe Chill. It's like for an early thing for Bruce to go up against. It's kind of funny, but seriously, this is just kind of a great kind of learning curve for Bruce Wayne here, where he is, this basically is the origin of why Bruce never underestimates his opponent. Basically, this is the origin of why Batman's overly prepared, because he walked into a trap and he needed he came with contingencies on the fly in this scene. So this is why Batman always has contingencies, and he never underestimates.
This scene is almost kind of like the origin of the Bat utility belt.
Tiki, in my heart of hearts, I'd like to think so. I'm not certain, but at the very least, the grappling gun. At the very least, the grappling gun.
I mean, the grappling gun and the flamethrower.
To be fair, he doesn't always have a flamethrower, but
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying, though. Having
session in this scene.
You're right, and I do like that element of it. I'd like to think that is intentional.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the origin of many. Again, I love how we're having these real natural origins to the Batman things. And these 2 episodes have been really rife with great Batman origin points, or like kind of famous Batman scenes. So let's see. So we see Bruce again. I like that we see Bruce's intelligence get him out of this jam. How he's pulling MacGyver here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So again,
it's not quite enough though, because he escapes out the building, but then around the side
with the awesome grappling hook bit.
Yes, he does. But then he is instantly reprimanded by the criminal, and then the criminal is taken out by Alfred.
And Tiki, this is so nice. The fact that Alfred, no matter what he says, Alfred is always going to be there for Bruce.
Well, I hate to say I told you so, Master Bruce.
Really nice.
Right.
Okay.
So Selina's trying to convince Tabitha to go on Barbara's side. Then Ivy is just kind of like creepily just like in the corner of the room, like, oh, I want in. Like, who invited you in?
Well, by the way, what Selena's saying to Tabitha here, I love. It feels very Year One-esque. Basically, Selena has the same perspective that she had in that book, Tiki, where she wants to move up in the criminal underworld. In the book, she wants to steal from Falcone. She wants to literally, she claws the face to kind of get the name out.
It's also very much Dark Knight Rises as well.
Well, sure, but again, always kind of from Year One on that. But certainly, yes, I do see it there. Yeah, it's. But yeah, it's kind of cool that we see Selena has the ambition that she has had, and again, like we're seeing it from the early age going on here. But yes, let's see, Ivy. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Yeah, right. Ivy wants to tap
the hates the Penguin. Again, I wish we would have seen more of that on screen, but whatever.
It definitely feels like we're missing Ivy scenes, which is
yeah.
Okay, let's see. So Scarecrow's rallying his army as kind of a fallback. Like, okay, I couldn't guess Jim Gordon conquered his fear, which is unprecedented. So, hey guys, and again, it kind of reminds me of the scene from not only Batman Begins, but the animated series, where basically many people see a giant bat and they attack. In this case, like, hey, he's the responsible for all your fears. Get him, kill him. So they all attack Jim, and Jim is outnumbered. He's a goner. And Tiki, again, this is kind of like the whole, using flashlights and Batman stuff. But I tell you, in anything, just any action stuff, I always love when a fire extinguisher can be used as a weapon.
Yeah.
What it is. I love it because not only does he sprays one, he sprays the ward. I think it's he sprays somebody with the sprays someone with the fire extinguisher, and he basically sees the water, the water extinguisher fluid. Washes the fear toxin off the face, and basically it snaps him out of it, which he then he sets off the sprinkler. Mm-hmm. Basically, collectively washes. Again, this is kind of a cool take on the fear toxin as a spray that would adhere to the face. He's washing it off. He's washing it off of him. Crane escapes, but before Jim can chase Crane, he has to deal with the huge thug that Crane has at his disposal, and awesomely.
Almost.
It's like what?
Like almost kind of like Bane, just in terms of stature.
Well, I mean, I'm saying more like Helsinger that we've had in the other season, right? The huge kind of crazy.
Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, man. Again, here's like the love of the fire extinguisher. I love when this can happen. Where Jim Gordon, who's made the scene better, by the way, is one of my favorite characters. Gordon's knocking the guy out with the fire extinguisher right in the face. It's like, yes, awesome, okay. So as Bruce and Alfred are starting to get into the whole debate about Bruce having to accept realities. I mean, these are men with guns, Master Bruce. What are you going to do? Lucius comes by bearing gifts.
Yes, very, very coy about all this. He's like, durable material, that were tested for military uniforms. I love how we have almost kind of like Spider-Man like gloves with the hand grips and everything.
That is really
kind of action you can do with that.
Yeah, so again, I have all the kind of specifics listed out here. Basically, it's a durability suit. In Batman Begins, we have the Nomex
lightweight and bulletproof. For rock climbing.
Yes. It's a thin Kevlar weave. It's got forearm protection. The whole bat gauntlets down the line. Again, we're foreshadowing like the bare essentials of the bat suit here. This is like what's underneath the bat suit essentially.
It's got long distance radio communication.
Oh yeah, of course the bulletproof of it all too, and those cling gloves, kind of like the Spider-Man gloves. What's so great about that too? It kind of reminds me of the electric gloves from Batman Begins that allows the cape to glide, kind of a bit like that. Right. But it's a little bit more practical for the proto Batman, where he's going to need to, if he can't make that jump, he's going to need something to kind of hedge his bet. Mm-hmm. But Tiki, what really got me in this scene, because aside from me being the gadget guy, like, oh man, this suit, all the terminology in the suits, oh, that's good. Aside from that, what really got me in this scene, I love this classy bit, this really sweet, classy bit. I really hope this is a running bit where they say to each other, they have such respect for each other after all, especially after season 2, they had to outsmart the Riddler together. And, Bruce and Lucius have had kind of a good dynamic ever since the beginning. But this great bit where Bruce says, thank you, Mr. Fox. Anytime, Mr. Wayne. Just calling Mr. Fox, Mr. Wayne. They're calling themselves Mr.
I just want to see you get hurt again.
Yeah, and Bruce saying, I feel safer already. Just again, that's so sweet. The whole Mr. Wayne, Mr. Fox. I know it sounds so simple, but it's so nice.
No, I hear you. I love their dynamic.
Okay, moving on.
Okay.
Tabitha.
So Tabitha agreed to join Barbara on one condition, and what is that condition, Dragon?
She needs a hand, but not help. She needs a hand. Tabitha, essentially, Tabitha, she's down for the partnership on one condition: if Barbara sacrifices her hand, much like the hand that Butch lost to the Penguin, and much like that Tabitha lost to the Riddler. She did regain it. It was sewn back on, to be fair, but she did.
Right.
She did lose it at the Riddler's hand, and of course, Barbara trusted the Riddler against everyone else's. Admission. So there's a tense build up, and essentially, but Barbara, of course, she agrees because she, again, just showing how genuine, how kind of poker player she is all of a sudden. Again, she's got a good front going on there. Where Barbara, she's gonna accept that hand being removed, and it's really tense. Like, oh, she's gonna cut the hand off. She's gonna cut the hand off, and boom, cleaver did not hit skin. She's okay, fine, I trust you.
So
how do you feel?
I don't know, just quick rant. I'm just saying, like, The Walking Dead has pulled this at least 2 or 3 times, because the main character in The Walking Dead actually loses his hand pretty early on in the comics.
So we know Marvel has pulled this several times.
Oh yeah. But with Walking Dead, they keep teasing it, right? Because it's a big thing that happens to the character in the comics. But it's like, we know you're not going to do it, Walking Dead, because you don't have the budget for it. And honestly, I felt the exact same way here. It's like, okay, they're not going to have Barbara with one hand the whole time. And sure enough, I don't want to get on a whole soapbox rant about it, but that is kind of a TV trope that annoys me. But anyways, it wasn't a big deal. It didn't ruin the whole episode or anything. It was just like, that was kind of cheap.
Yeah, it does. Okay. I mean, the bets were pretty much like, yeah, they're not going to cut the hand off. And if they... It's like, we've already done it twice. Are we going to keep doing this to characters removing the one hand? Like, how many is there a club of the one-handed? Like, how many times can we do this before it gets old? So I'm glad they didn't remove the hand, but it was like, I had a feeling they weren't going to do it.
Okay. So Gordon returns to the GCPD, and Penguin, of course, is waiting with his paparazzi cronies in tow. Oh, we made a deal. We didn't make a deal.
I love that Jim called him on
in a very public place, and you falsely shake my hand.
I love that he called him on that. I'm so proud of the episode for his calling him out on that. But at the same time, I love that Penguin didn't just scurry away with his tail between his legs. I love that Penguin still what his plan B was with that going on there. Is that, assuming Gordon was going to weasel out of it somehow, he was going to weasel out of nothing really. But he had his really kind of cutting plan B, where basically he offers a job to the GCPD by tripling their wages to leave the GCPD and be like private security or something for him. And essentially, Gordon's point out, he's just paying you. He's offering you a job to look the other way. And of course, Bullock, and this is like a nice kind of wink, kind of a secret Mean Joe Green Coke and a smile moment here, where Bullock calls Jim out again, siding with the cops publicly, just saying, well, maybe it's not a bad idea. And of course, he walks up to Gordon. Gordon's really peeved at him for making him go and face the Scarecrow alone. And then Bullock makes it clear, hey, Jim, you got to think about winning the war, not the battle. And you don't have to say anything because don't tip anyone off. But I'm gonna buy you a drink. Basically, stealthily offers to buy him a drink. Very Mean Joe Green Coke and a smile moment. Like, hey, kid, you stopped that mass psychopath from driving into mate's crazy. I'm going to buy you a drink. Get that to your local tavern.
All right, so we have Ivy. This is kind of a bizarre scene, no?
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you this. I
think the Ivy of it all is really the only thing that's kind of that feels like there's a missing reel. You know what I mean? Everything else feels pretty on point.
Of course, we know what we're doing with Ivy here. So basically, Ivy has this herbalist where where she gets kind of the stuff to make her plants, plant toxins and stuff with. The herbalist is played, but I want to say it's Clem Chung. It's something Chung, and Mr. Lin from Luke Cage. It was like Genghis Khan's. This is the husband from Genghis Khan's. That's who this guy was. Good actor, I like him. And I love his dynamic. They're saying, no, every time you come in here, you hypnotize me with the perfume, and I got to give you stuff. You get in here. Just love is so honest with her. It's such a realistic. If you lived in Gotham, you would be that guy. I love that.
Right, right.
So anyway, she's asking for something short. She wants to up her game so she can play with the big boys, essentially, and all this craziness. Essentially, she wants to become comic book Poison Ivy, the whole. She wants to become the plant lady version of Poison Ivy. So she takes a bunch of herbs and she starts to mutate into kind of the plant hybrid version of Ivy.
And I gotta say, Dragon, I am genuinely curious to see how that pans out.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, we knew it's eventually going here. I like the fact at least we got to see her as kind of human, human Poison Ivy before we get there, because I've always appreciated the rarity that is, the kind of the crazed plant lady over the woman who's more plant than human. That's always kind of that's where we've kind of come down on it too. But it's eventually they're getting here, so I guess we're getting there faster than expected. So.
Okay, so second to last scene in the episode, we have a nice kind of setting the stakes, setting the chess pieces scene with the bar. Gork and Bullock.
Yeah, working on
Bullock. I just shipped Gordon and Bullock.
Oh, come on. Don't do it. The people do that enough with Gordon and the Penguin. You wouldn't believe this stuff like
God. Anyways. So what's going on?
Shipping those two. It's anyway. So yes, they're working on a plan. And Bullock's asking the logical question: are we making a difference? And I like that we're bringing up these questions with the GCP because these are kind of modern things we address in Batman. We don't do it like all the time. I'm saying it's a question that has come up now and again. Like, what is the validity of the GCPD if Batman exists? And so basically, is pointing out, we need an army to take on the Penguin because that's what Penguin's building here. He's got like a whole system in line. He's got all these guys with licenses, and of course, he's got Victor Zsasz, who almost is an army within himself, and he's got the GCPD on his side, like a large amount of the GCPD on his side. So. Bullock longs for the days of Falcone, where he remarks, of course, season 1, Days of Falcone. Falcone is a fair, polished.
There was honor with Falcone.
Exactly. You know, he policed the criminals. That's the thing. Like, he policed the criminals and made sure, if anyone stepped out of line to be dealt with, and reparations to be made. Yeah. And Jim gets a very crazy idea to reach out.
Yeah, he gets a twinkle in his eye.
So just very brief reminder for the folks out there, as we were kind of alluding to with one of our favorite running gags, she loves me. Falcone had a son who was
right,
and he kind of found himself on the wrong end of a bullet fired by Jim. So essentially, Gordon he was infected by a virus, so Gordon had to kill his son, and that whole arc with Falcone. Falcone isn't crazy about that. He knew his son was kind of a maniac, but still, it's like it's an Italian thing. It's a Sicilian. What I know it's a Sicilian thing. I think Bullock said Sicilian. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point is, Falcone's definitely have a grudge against Gordon for the death of his son. At least that's where they kind of left things. That Lee kind of saved Gordon at the last second. So the point is, going to the father of the son that you killed, not the best idea. That's where we're leaving kind of Gordon for the next episode. Bruce, we end the really great triumphant thing on Bruce here. Bruce is testing out the suit. He's jumping on rooftops.
Oh yeah.
He's in the proto bat suit. It's really it looks really cool. It's a really cool sequence. Alfred's on the comm on the ground floor. He then dons the mask that Alfred made him.
I love that Alfred made the mask. I love that detail.
And we kind of upgrade from the ski mask vigilante, which again, as much as I love that, we then upgrade to the kind of the proto Batman. And it was the last shot, of course, proto Batman on the rooftops of Gotham. Yes.
All right, let's gets us right into speculation, Dragon.
Promo is like 3 shots. Essentially, Jim sits down with Sophia and Carmine. Sophia Falcone will be introduced next episode. That's a big deal. And she has vision for Gotham. It's implied that she has a vision for Gotham, which could spell trouble or could spell Gotham salvation. Who knows? There was on one other thing, too, is that Selina is walking into a trap, and Bruce knows this, and it's up to Bruce to save her.
Okay, so do you want to address our Gotham, our
speculation?
Barbara theory?
Yes, our Barbara theory, absolutely. So,
okay, say it in 3, 2, 1. Court of Owls!
Wait, what? Oh, man, we had different theories on that. Wow.
Yeah, my theory is Court of Owls.
Well, technically yours works for mine, T. I was thinking Ra's al Ghul.
Okay, yeah, I can see yours. I can see arguments for both of ours, really.
It's fair. I'm just remembering the Court of Owls. It was revealed that Rachel Ghoul's the kind of the head honcho of the Court of Owls.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Then again, he did burn his bridge with the court because he had him murdered, so it's unclear where they stand now.
Yeah.
If there are any survivors. But let me walk through mine. I think yours kind of umbrellas under mine. But we'll see. Let me go through mine. Very simple. I think Ra's brought Barbara back for 2 reasons. One, to keep ears on the criminal underground. Basically, again, like keep track of the crime, because Barbara, what she proposed to Tabitha and Selena was basically in selling doing the arms dealing, they would be able to kind of find out what crimes are being committed in Gotham, which basically this would be how Ra's al Ghul would get his intel, and more importantly, for the second reason, recruit Selena Kyle so that Ra's basically has a way of monitoring Bruce, but more importantly, manipulating Bruce through Selena.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay.
That's my theory. I'm absolutely, and that's how we explain how Barbara came back. Just Ra's kind of found her and put her in a Lazarus pit.
So is our kind of theory from last episode that Ra's is going to be the one to step in and stop Scarecrow? Is that still holding true?
Well, I mean, I'm saying if this episode, again, this Barbara thing comes true, then it would be like for 2 episodes we've built up Ra's al Ghul, and then it would make sense the next one would kind of continue the through line of Ra's al Ghul. So it's I don't see anything against that.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, that's about the only spec I have is in regards to Barbara. Anything else you got?
Yeah, I just got 2 very quick things. I think Sophia will make, based on the promo, I'm getting a sense. I think Sophia is going to make Jim commissioner. She's gonna be the one in particular over Falcone, the really fast track. Like, she's going to take a liking to Jim Gordon. The 2 of them are going to work together to make. To make Gotham a better place, and her plan of doing that will be making Jim Gordon commissioner, and then Jim's gonna question, like kind of the ethics of that happening, I guess.
All right, I like that.
I'll say this though, T. I'm not saying we won't. I definitely think we're going to see Scarecrow in the second half. I think he's going to be important in the second half. I wouldn't mind if we didn't see him until the second half, but it's still Ra's. We could still do the Ra's in the next episode. It's possible.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
But I mean, I'd be perfectly fine if we just brought Scarecrow back like towards the very end to spray Bruce, and then Bruce kind of sees bats, and that kind of informs the Batman imagery.
All right.
Lastly, I'm sorry. This is the last thing. Bringing Falcone could. I'm sorry. It's a fear I have going forward. One fear I want to address going is fear being appropriate. My fear is that bringing Falcone in, if it could go south, if they falter in how they bring Falcone back, because it would seem that, okay, well, hey, how are we going to fight the Penguin and his corruption? We bring in another guy who runs Gotham through corruption. Perfect.
Right.
That's my fear. I really hope they stick firm to it, because Gordon did have respect for Falcone. The fact that, again, he did. He did have control. There was a respect in the criminal underworld that no one would cross Falcone, and they adhered to him. He would just kind of be that balance in Gotham. Basically, the fact that Penguin's more out for the money and then kind of the financing of it all, where Falcone's just more like kind of we need someone to oversee the crime so it doesn't get too out of control. So I hope they don't messy that too much. If they messy that too much, it'll just be like, okay, well, we're basically putting in a bigger problem than the Penguin.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's just the ethical. That's the ethical worry I have going for it. I hope they can bring Falcone in well.
All right. Okay, so I guess final thoughts on my end. Yeah, I mean, I think overall this 4th season is definitely, they're doing a lot of stuff really right. I think by far this has been the best Bruce Wayne stuff that we've gotten in all 4 seasons. I think the Bruce Wayne storyline is really on the fast track right now. The Scarecrow stuff, for me, it worked well, Dragon. I think it worked a little bit better for you. I guess that's just subjectivity for you, but I do really like the all the year 1 style GCPD stuff that Gordon's having to deal with in this episode. I guess the one thing that's wonky is the Ivy storyline. That is kind of like the the one sort of squeaky wheel in this whole operation so far, but we'll see how it goes. And with the Ivy storyline, though I do have my reservations about it, I am excited to see the finished product of it, at least from a design perspective. So overall, this episode, like I said, I think the show is, it definitely feels different from season 3. But I think overall, this overhaul there's a lot more promise in this overhaul so far than there is trepidation, I would say.
I thought this was a great episode. Some of the Penguin and Ivy. Honestly, we had, like, I would say about three kind of strange scenes. Of course, the missing Ivy stuff, that Penguin handshake, and the hand thing with Barbara. Like, take those three bits out of the episode, I think it'd be more solid. But I'm just saying, existing as they are, they don't kill the episode for me, but they just kind of like they stand out, and I think they're just kind of like, okay, that's a little strange.
I hear you.
But yeah, I mean, again, a little iffy with the whole Penguin Ivy kind of relationship breaking down. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I love the seeds of the Bruce story. I think it's a great progression on him, and again, I mean, I'd love to see kind of the Ra's al Ghul theory come true. But again, the thing I'm most impressed by in this episode, the reason I think I like this episode more than the, it's tough. I think this one has. Again, I think the thing the first episode has going against is that it's a new status quo we're coming back to. Time, and you have to adjust to that first one. But on the rewatch, that first one gets better and has like such kind of landmarks of Batman. In this case, this one I think is a more solid episode. It's a kind of a fascinating exploration of the Scarecrow. I thought Scarecrow was kind of the big go-to on this one. I mean, this feels like I think I like the Scarecrow. I mean, it's kind of bold, but I think I'm liking the Scarecrow stuff a little bit more than the Mr. Freeze arc we had in season 2. You know, that 2-episode opening Mr. Freeze arc.
Yeah, I would say I prefer it too. I think it was a really good, it was a really good backstory, as we keep saying.
Yeah, so again, on the whole, I'm really feeling this episode. I enjoyed it.
All right, take us out then.
So remember, kids, no matter how dark and scary, emphasis on scary, the world may be right now, there will be light. There will be light.
Until next time, when we go exploring Gotham yet again. Hot damn, it's like Christmas.